good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on any person from where you are residing and from where you're located. And by the names of Mzee, Nganda, Kizito, Madiba, live on Mzee, Nganda, Kizito, Madiba live. Today, we have a subject at hand which we want to go in depth, and specifically our eyes are going to look at Israel and the war at hand, that is the Israel-Palestinian war, to be specific, the Israel and the Hamas. This war started in October 2023, whereby the Hamas attacked the Israelites while celebrating the Yom Kippur Day, and they caught them off guard. They killed some people, they abducted many, and they took them. Then the following day, the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu announced a combat attack and a full blast attack on the Palestinians, especially in Gaza Strip. So since that time, the country of Palestine has been immensely affected by the negative impact or effects of this civil war, whereby many people have been killed, loss of property, leaders of the Hamas, including Yahya Sinwar and his brother Mohammed Sinwar, then also other Hezbollah group leaders have been killed, like Sheikh Hassan Said Nasrallah. All those people have been killed. So as of now, things have been unfolding whereby America, Qatar, and Egypt have been at the forefront of stopping this war so that people can have peace. They can give the Israelis can give the prisoners back, while the Hamas can give back those people who were abducted. But during the peace talks of releasing these people, many things have been arrived at. There was one of the ceasefire talk which was prepared around May, and that one failed because the Hamas had a plea that Israel has to first leave Gaza Strip, then they can release the abducted people. Then also Israel should release those people, the likes of the prisoners who were abducted during the war. So during this time of the war, Mr. Benjamin Netanyahu created a war cabinet, and this war cabinet, he had to bring on board senior generals and those in the opposition, including Benny Gantz. Benny Gantz, as he has been at the forefront, for him, he has been so much saying that we shouldn't have ceasefire in this war. He has been saying Israel should go full blast to clear the Gaza Strip, to clear Palestine, Jerusalem, and others, so that they can make it Palestinian free. And in the process, the Palestinians, led by President Mahmoud Abbas, on the other side of the Gaza Strip, led by the Hamas, have been imposing also grip not to leave that place. So Bibi, as of last week, the plan to erase or to remove all Palestinians in the Gaza Strip, the plan had already failed, and they had to go back on board to revise the strategy. In so doing, Benjamin Netanyahu had to his commander, of the army in the names of Amir Ghazi, so that they can encircle or take over the Gaza city. But in the first place of last week, there has been a fracas, a pull of ropes between the commander of the army of Israel and Benjamin Netanyahu as a prime minister, whereby Benjamin Netanyahu wanted to go through the city and take over all other areas in Palestine. The commander of the army of Israel, Mr. Amir Zamir, he told him it is impossible because it was going to expose their army to civilian authority and civilians at large. The civilians who were still doing their own work would easily join this war. I salute Mr. Jace Juma. Thanks for watching. So, General Amir Zamir, the commander of the Israeli army, said, please, we cannot go combat. Let's first stay in the urban areas so that we can paralyze them before we go to other areas. And once we expose ourselves, it means we are going to go into a guerrilla war. And in a guerrilla war, very many people are going to die. Our army is going to die. At that level, Benjamin Netanyahu had to not listen to the general, and he sent his war cabinet ministers to talk to this general, General Zamir. Zamir had to draw a deaf ear on what they were requesting him to do. He said he's not going to get the army to go into combat or guerrilla war, but he can let the army stay in the cities. And he proposed if they are to go in depth, they had to only take over the Gaza city. As time went by, Benjamin Netanyahu had to succumb to what General Zamir was telling him. He had to go and revise his proposal to his war cabinet so that they can only take over Gaza city. But as time went by, many things unfolded. General Zamir made sure that the war cabinet doesn't make his army to go full blast into the civil war. And his war cabinet ministers were like telling him, if you are not accepting what we are saying, it means you are disobeying the minister. Because we have to take this line of going all over Palestine in the good of the country of Israel. Zamir had to stamp his foot, had to hold his ground by saying, no, I cannot lead the people's army into a civil war or a guerrilla war against the Israelis. Against the Palestinians. Instead, we have to be calculative in whatever we are doing. Now, Benjamin Netanyahu had to implement what General Zamir was telling him. He said, okay, they can take over Gaza city, but with time, they will take over what we call the other Palestinian towns, for example, Jerusalem and others. Now, the Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, again, had to leave this flow, but he talked to his Security Minister, Israel Kazi, to talk to General Zamir about the promotions which were to be done in the Israel army. But Zamir who was quoting the law right, maintained silent. He didn't reply to them, but instead went on to appoint and to elevate the ranks of senior army officers and junior army officers in the Israel army. This again escalated the misunderstanding between the security minister Israel Kazi and the general who commands the Israel army, Amir Zamir. Zamir stated that the minister, Mr. Israel Kazi, has no authority whatsoever to tell him to give him a list first or to sit with him as the process unfolds in order to elevate and give more ranks to the serving army officers in the senior section and the junior section. Here, Zamir was quoting that it has been just a practice since 1992 that the Israel army can easily sit with the minister. They promote the ranks of the army officers. They retire some of the ranks of the army officers and promote the juniors. But it is not by law, as he quotes the Constitution of Israel, that the security minister has to get involved in the process. Instead, the security minister has to wait for the proposed names to either confirm by stamping on the list or to refuse by stating real issues or issues with substance, that this and this has not to be on the list because of this reason and this reason. Meaning, the reason is have to be substantial for you to eliminate any of the member being elected by or being appointed or elevated by the Army Council. Now, Zamir and the security minister, Israel Kazi, continued to pull ropes, continued to run, and time reached whereby Kazi was not quoting any law anywhere. For example, most of the armies around the world, the Army Council can sit and appoint or elevate the ranks of the army officers. But the security officer is not mentioned anywhere that he can get involved in the process. For him, is just receiving the list. When we go to Kenya, it had the army commander who was a Chikuyu in the term of Kenyatta. And when Ruto took over, he had to change in order to see that he erects a rule. Now, because this man had worked so much, excuse me. Hi, Asma Kabdi. Nice to meet you. So, because this army officer, Mr. Ogola of Kenya, had served the army, because the army officer, Mr. Ogola, by then he was looked at as a person who is going to take over the position of the army commander. But rumors had circulated in Kenya during the 2022 general elections that Ogola had supported Raila Amolo Odinga. This had to piss off the camp of William Samoei Arap Ruto. And because this was a very big issue, it was thought that Ruto is going to do away with the norm which has been followed since 1992 of changing tribes. Either today, the army officer has been a tribe in this term of the president, the next 5 years, it has to be another person from another tribe. Then another 5 years, it has to be another person from another tribe to lead the army of Kenya. But because the debate was tense in Kenya, and some of the supporters of Mr. Odinga were furious, had not accepted that they were beaten in the past elections, Ruto had to play it cool. He had to call Ogola on table. They sat and agreed. Ruto told him what he thought about him. He requested him to act professional because he knew he had supported Odinga in the past elections. But Ogola died some years back because of sickness, and they had to get another army officer. So this vice or this norm of having army officers taking of the army, as it started in 1992, it is not applying only in Israel. It has been a vice or a norm world over. Now, once the security minister, Israel Katz of Israel, had no substantial reason to scrap off the names which were asked by the Army Council of Israel, it meant that he's going to pass all these names. It's like they had to send him a rope to hang himself. Why was the minister refusing to sanction or to sign on these names? It is because Israel Katz and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu always and openly stated that some of these army officers slept on their job when the Hamas attacked Israel in October 2023. They had to put it on them that they are the ones who caused the death and abductions of their people because they failed to command the army in the right way to defend the boundaries and the borders of Israel. Although the army officers refuted this, they had to stand and defend themselves about this because it was just a holiday and a big day in Israel. That is the Yom Kippur day. The Yom Kippur, it is much remembered in the 1970s, whereby these people were celebrating this day, and the Palestinians, with the joint forces of other Arab countries, attacked their country. Then they went full blast, and they attacked these countries of Kuwait, countries of Egypt, and others. They had to harass them. They had to bomb them down so that they can succumb to the wants of Israel. General Zamir went on and he said that Katz, what he was quoting has been a practice, yes, but it has not been in the law. He was not quoting a law. He was just quoting a practice. And this practice was just used as a by the way to just carry out consensus that the minister is involved, the army officers or the top ranked officers are involved in the elevation of the ranks of their fellow officers. But as per the law, this was not the case in the Israel constitution. Now, why is that most of the countries have some loopholes or have some lacunas in their constitution. A lacuna is like a loophole you leave for easy exit of any person. So most of the constitutions around the world have lacunas to see that the culprit or any person can use it as an exit to circumvent or bypass the law. So the students of law have this saying that whenever there is too much legislation, it causes confusion. And when it causes confusion, it draws a bigger picture of backwardness of a country. Because it's like it's like showing a country can only, or people of that particular country can only live or can only survive when there is a law curbing them down or stopping them to do something. And that's why most of the legislators thought it wise that please, to show that some things we can use common sense, use humility, we shouldn't legislate on everything. Instead, we should leave some loopholes for people to use their brains to think on the bad and on the good. So, leaving these lacunas, it shows maturity, that people can talk with their hearts and not resort to doing something wrong. People can use common sense to know that what is doing is not human. And it shows people that the world is growing forward, not backward. But if you over-legislate, it shows backwardness. That's why there is that lacuna in most of the constitutions of the countries, not thinking that the lawmakers were not wise to panel beat on everything, to stop or to leave no breathing space in the laws. Now, as we move forward, the minister, Security Minister Kaz, and the Army General, the commander of the Defense Forces, Zamir, had to meet the war cabinet. And in the war cabinet, it was trying to force General Zamir to either resign if he can't implement what they want. Zamir refused because it was outlaw. He said that, please, everything you are doing in this war cabinet has to follow the law. So Prime Minister Netanyahu and Zamir, Prime Minister Netanyahu and their Security Minister, Israel Katz, had to loosen a bit. They called back General Zamir. They had a chat whereby Zamir said, okay, we can sit down or we can think of the names you are talking about, either to leave them on the ranks they have, or if you don't have the substance, we have to elevate them. That's why now there is some breathing space and stop of fracas within the war cabinet. Now, as we have seen everything, Israel, as I speak now, it cannot move any further. Depending on General Zamir, it cannot move all over Palestine, but it is going to remain in the Gaza Strip and the Gaza city as it gets involved in what we call the urban combat, not going full blast into the civil war. As they prepare to restructure, as they prepare to either move slowly into Palestine than going full blast, whereby the people of Palestine, who were just even doing their business. Once they hear this, they can also come and get involved direct. They get what we call rebel groups, which Israel right now doesn't want. Now, that is what is happening in Israel. That's why Israel has delayed so much to move inside Palestine so that they can cause havoc, they can cause more insecurity on the people of Palestine, but instead they are keeping themselves outside the cities, not within, but this time they are going to move within the Gaza city, not to any other city, as they capture those areas, either for strategic reasons or for combat reasons. Israel, as a country, we have seen it almost since 1948. Whenever it comes and captures or it encircles a particular place, it is not easy to leave such place. For example, we saw it when it covered the strides in Egypt. That was in 1967. Yes, in those Israeli-Palestinian wars, Egypt was inclusive in such wars. Now, when they beat so much Kuwait and Egypt, they had to succumb to the request of Israel, because the Golan Heights was taken, and in taking the Golan Heights, these people had to sit down to see that they can secure back this place. But although they secured it, Israel had to remain with some influence over the Golan Heights, because the Golan Heights were so much being used by the Palestinians to attack, were so much being used by other rebel groups to attack Israel. So this place of the Golan Heights is so much used as a place of strategic ambiguity, to see that they can fight back at any time possible. That's why they have not yet so much withdrawn fully from that place since the 60s. They remained with some influence there. When you got the Gaza Strip, all of us know that it is owned by the Palestinian Authority. But because the Palestinian Authority, led by Mahmoud Abbas, failed to control the Hamas in the Gaza Strip, the Israelis in 2014 had to fight and capture that area. They gained much influence on it. They had to start constructing houses. They start doing everything. And when they go into the peace talks, which they have, it is not going to be so much easy for Israel to accept to easily leave the Gaza Strip. It's not going to be like that. They are going to remain with some control over it, because this has been their outcry that if America cannot come and take over that place fully, or the Arab cannot come and commit themselves to control that place, they cannot leave that place until the Hamas are broken down. But calling the Arab friends to come and take over that place, it is going to be like a mockery to the Palestinian Authority, that you don't have even the zeal to control that place. Instead, we, your friends, are the one controlling it. That's why most of the Arab countries have not yet come to take over that place, or they refuse to come and take over that place. It's one of the reasons. It's going to be looked at as hypocrisy of the highest order, which the Arab countries don't want to carry out. Now, moving from that, in the same week, if you can break down very many things, we are saying the ceasefire talks being frustrated. We are seeing very many things which are frustrated, but other office work and ground work is being done to see that we can get ceasefire in that part of the world known as Palestine, especially in the Gaza Strip. We wait to see what comes the world's way or the Palestinians' way. We wait to see if the Israel can allow the Palestinians to come back and occupy their places. Because as you look at the pictures either on Al Jazeera, you are seeing even people are fighting for food. People are dying of hunger because Israel even is not allowing humanitarian food from USCR to come into Gaza. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you. May Allah bless you. People who have been watching, Jizi Juma, thank you so much. Asma, yes, Asma Kabdi, thank you so much. And others, please thank you. May Allah bless you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We shall come into another part to look at another minister of Israel and what he did, which made the world get surprised. He caught the world by surprise and in a negative way. Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Have a good day.